Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to point out every single day, it expands our base. Let me describe to you what I see going on right now. The Supreme Court has 10 major decisions, including presidential immunity, which it will render sometime in the next, week. We also know that tomorrow night there will be a so-called debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I think the issues are pretty well defined between the two of them. What we'll really be doing in the debate, so-called, is looking at the individuals. Can they stand the pressure? What's their attitude? What do they look like? Are they awake? Are they able to communicate effectively? Those will be the real issues. And we are left waiting because a lot hinges on what the Supreme Court will do on the immunity case. The question of Donald Trump and his future in American politics may in fact hinge on whether the Supreme Court says, yes, indeed, a former president has blanket immunity, or whether they say no, a president or former president does not have blanket immunity. Those issues of what a president or a former president is responsible for are really going to be critical. I received an email solicitation from the Trump people. Of course, I get all of the emails that go out politically. Or at least the ones that are sent to me. And it was fascinating because they were talking in this email about Joe Biden being jacked up on drugs. There are diversionary things taking place here that I think we need to discuss. One of the major questions, I think, confronting the American people in this election is the Supreme Court and who the justices in the future will be. Remember that in 2016, Donald Trump assured people that if he were elected president, he would nominate justices for the Supreme Court who would rescind Roe v. Wade. And we got the Dobbs decision. And Donald Trump claims great credit for that fact. All of us need to consider carefully what it will mean with more vacancies on the Supreme Court. We know that who is president matters. And there is no doubt that if Donald Trump wins, the Supreme Court will go one direction. And if Joe Biden wins, the Supreme Court will go another direction. And how those decisions play out affect all of our lives in so many ways. So when I watch tomorrow night what happens on the so-called debate stage, I will also be thinking carefully about the implications of what the Supreme Court will do in the days ahead. These moments are pivotal in the American political process. Think about it. What will be on the ballot in November? When we vote November 5th, what will really be on the ballot? Number one, the direction of the Supreme Court. Number two, the question of whether or not a president of the United States is, in fact, accountable. And I'm talking about January 6th and all the subsequent areas. I'm going to talk about the third element will be rhetoric. What rhetoric matters when a president of the United States is accused of being jacked up on drugs, not only by his opponent, but by leading Republicans in Congress? How do we react to that? And please be aware of all the issues we're not talking about. And this is something that really bothers me. Maybe because we're not jugglers. We have to really consider what we're doing one issue at a time. But stop and think about foreign policy. No one is talking about what's happening in Ukraine. No one is talking about what's going on in the Middle East. No one is talking about Russia's threat to use nuclear weapons. No one is talking about Donald Trump's threat to withdraw from NATO. No one is really talking about the crisis that we face on climate change, global warming. These are issues which need to be addressed, but we are distracted. As I sat listening to CNN and Fox and MSNBC, trying to get a sense of what the real currents here are, one of my colleagues remarked to me, "They're just filling time." And maybe that's true. Maybe all they're doing is filling time. I want to address one other issue which I think needs to be discussed and elucidated upon, and that's what happened in Los Angeles at a synagogue called Adass Torah. What happened at that synagogue was a demonstration, and it was a real clear image of Jew hatred at its best, or worst, as the case may be. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Recognizing that most of the demonstrators would not be able to tell you what river was and what the sea was, of course, the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. And the question becomes, what can we do as violence escalates and the tensions escalate? There is no doubt that what we are witnessing now and what we witnessed last night in the election, where a leading anti-Israel advocate, a member of the Squad, was defeated for renomination. I believe it was a good thing that that individual lost. I want to remind you that the thing that he said that most upset me was that we are talking about 75 years of occupation. 75 years goes back to 1948. And let me point out to you that that means that the injustice they are pointing to is Israel's very existence. I hope that comes up in the joint appearance between Donald Trump and Joe Biden tomorrow night. I'd like to hear what they have to say about it. But in the meantime, we hold our breath. First, the Supreme Court. Second, the joint appearance between Biden and Trump. And third, perhaps, how they look, what they say, and how we respond as an American electorate. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. And of course, you can interact with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And most important of all, my deep appreciation to the producer of this podcast, Gogo Zoger, who posts every single day Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you tomorrow.